Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. Elite colleges and universities do not know what to do because they're up against Trump. And what Trump has in mind is to destroy these colleges and universities. The cultures will never be the same. They are institutions, and they are very important institutions, but they've been captured. They're so ideologically captured that they can't be saved. So what's necessary is to break them, to strip them down to the studs, and then rebuild them as something credible. There are lawyers, there are judges, there are court orders. All of that is not enough to stop what Trump has coming. A Harvard professor says it well. From the college fix, Harvard needs to reform, but Trump's actions could destroy it, according to this professor. They not only could destroy it, they will destroy it. And none of us want to destroy valuable American institutions. But when these same institutions are so far gone on their DEI, on their international students, that they're letting run riot all over the schools, their use of research funds taking at Harvard 69% of all the money that we give them for research for running the institution and keeping their own expenses when they should be taking more like 10 or 15%. The institutions are so badly captured that they waste a tremendous amount of money that the government gives them, and they've lost the confidence of the American people. So these institutions, such as they are, can no longer exist. From inside higher ed, international students hit with back-to-back orders. Trump issued 2 orders on Wednesday night that could deal a major blow to international enrollment. And we haven't seen the results just yet, but they are going to deal a major blow to international enrollment. Look at what Trump is doing to these students. They're detaining students from protests. There's hundreds of them. ICE has picked people up. Some of them are getting let out by a judge. Another judge will let out another one. But other ones are still detained. So if you come to try to study in the United States, you run the risk that you say or do something that the government doesn't like, and because you don't have the same First Amendment rights, and you do not, on a student visa as a citizen or a permanent green card holder, ICE could come knock on your door or pick you up off the street and hold you for detention pending a deportation. In addition to that, Trump has, for national security reasons, blocked 12 countries from getting visas to the United States. Just completely blocked them. They're still allowing H-1B visas. They're still subject to heightened security. And there are other countries that they're also doing heightened security reviews on. But how are you supposed to cope with that if you're a college that's expecting to get international students in? How can international students comfortably come to one of these universities when they know at any time the government could say, you know what? We saw something you wrote. We didn't like it. You did something. We didn't like it. And then what? Get picked up and detained by ICE for a couple of months or something until somehow you get let out or get deported back to your own country? He's making it impossible for these people, and he's doing it intentionally. He's also doing this from Bloomberg. Columbia student loans are threatened by Trump's secret weapon. This is a really important secret weapon, and this is something that is long under the control of the Education Department. The Education Department gets to control essentially the credentials of a university because they can pull the status of that university being accredited. If you're not an accredited university, if you don't get the approval by that body, which is also tied up with the approval from the federal government to get that special status, then you can't get student loans from your university. And you also can't get Pell Grants for that university. So why would you go to that university? How are you going to pay cash? I'm sure some people still could, but no Pell Grant, no student loan, whether you're a domestic student or an international student, if you can even come from one of those countries, if they haven't found a way to block your country yet. It's a massive attack. And right now, the student loan issue is only affecting Columbia, but it could easily be expanded to other colleges in like 2 seconds. It's completely at the discretion of the administration. And the reason they didn't start this way with Columbia and they didn't just go for the student loans right away was because this is kind of like a nuclear option. And beyond this, I guarantee you they've got more plans for these colleges if they won't break down and just deal with the federal government and get their house in order. Trump also specifically went against Harvard, allowing them to issue international student visas, saying they no longer were allowed to do it because they didn't provide information requested on international students that were attending Harvard. The Department of Homeland Security wanted to know what's going on with these international students of yours. Give us the records of their behavior, any problems you had with them, any video you have of them rioting. Harvard wouldn't deliver it. The Department of Homeland Security said, okay, you can't issue international student visas anymore. So even your current students all have to go home if they're not U.S. citizens. A judge is helping them out with this, at least for now. But if you're a student and you're going to Harvard and you're not a citizen and you see something like this, you just have to hope and pray that the Trump administration won't do well when they appeal this. And honestly, most likely they will do well because Trump is making it about national security. He's saying, hey, it's the Department of Homeland Security. We're asking you about these foreign students that you brought into the country. Yes, we know who they are, but we don't know what they've been up to and who they are now and how their behavior has been. And we do have a problem on campuses. And we're asking you to update us on these students. Harvard's saying no. A judge is helping them out for now. But that's not going to last. A judge can't make national security decisions. A judge can only say, well, this isn't constitutional. You're really violating this person's rights or that entity's rights. They can do that. But when it comes down to it, there's massive deference that higher level courts and the Supreme Court give to the federal government when they're making national security decisions. And even if Harvard got away with this, they're not getting away from the multiple country ban on international students that Trump just did when this judge pulled this trick. Because that's beyond Harvard and their students. That's just national security issues. It's also beyond students. It's for all kinds of visas, with very limited exceptions. From Inside Higher Ed, international students hit with back-to-back orders. President Trump issued 2 directives targeting international students just hours apart on Wednesday night. One is a ban on entering the U.S. for citizens from 12 countries and heightened visa restrictions for those from another 7. The other bans all international students, researchers, and other exchange visitors from Harvard University. The orders represent another escalation of the Trump administration's simultaneous and sometimes overlapping campaigns to both punish Harvard and curtail the number of foreign students studying in the U.S. Chris Glass, a professor of higher education at Boston College and a member of the college's Center for International Education, said the combination of the travel ban and the Harvard order are part of the administration's flood the zone strategy for its higher education agenda. He added that the timing of the dual orders following on the heels of a seemingly indefinite pause on student visa interviews and a promise to aggressively revoke Chinese students' visas seems intended to cause the most chaos possible. It is a lot of chaos, and when Trump takes an action like this, then the colleges and universities have to respond to it, and they can try to run and get a judge that they like and get a judge to help them out, and they can help them out in a little bit of a way. But they can't solve the problem, not when it comes to these larger issues that even go beyond that one single university. The chaos that Trump creates works for Trump. The other people have to deal with his chaos. If these institutions were really legitimate, you would think they would go and they would solve this issue, and they would say, okay, sure, we do have some students that have made some problems, but we've had a kind of lax policy here because we know we have different cultures that are intermixing. We had the issue with Hamas, and, that upset a lot of our international students who were on one side and other students who were on another side. And we did have some conflict and we tried to be hands off, but let's all be reasonable about this and try to work this out. The institutions don't want to work this out. The colleges can't work this out. Because the more we find out about this, the more it seems like these colleges and universities were not what we thought they were. And it's not just the anti-Semitism stuff or the riots on campus. There's something really wrong going on there. Something anti-American. It's not just obsessions with DEI. It's all this anti-American stuff they do. All this promotion of communism and Marxism and trans ideologies and everything progressive to the exclusion of any other kind of normal perspective. Trying to turn conservatism or just normalness, acting like a regular American, wanting to have a normal family, into some kind of fringe idea. Trump is aware of this, and everyone with common sense is really aware of this. And that's why these guys have to be broken down and rebuilt all over again. Chris Glass went on to say, quote, the timing couldn't be worse. This is when 70% of international students are getting or renewing their visas, he said. It injects catastrophic uncertainty, and the uncertainty is the strategy from my perspective. Well, yes, that is the strategy. Because unlike most people, Trump does know how to deal with uncertainty. He seems to want it and welcome it. But these colleges can't seem to handle like one curveball, much less 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them. On Thursday evening, Harvard filed the legal challenge to the proclamation targeting the university and asked the judge to issue a temporary restraining order against the administration. Judge Allison Burroughs from the District of Massachusetts quickly granted that request and extended the current restraining order issued last month. She set a hearing for June 16th. The last time Trump instituted a travel ban in his first term, it threw colleges into chaos and left students and researchers stranded for months in the middle of a winter break, sending colleges scrambling to find ways to bring them back. Higher ed has been bracing for a repeat of that travel ban since Trump was reelected in November. Many institutions told their international students to return to campus before the inauguration to avoid the same fate. And I'm sure some did, and I'm sure some didn't. The new ban is not as drastic as many predicted. When the White House initially proposed another travel ban in March, officials rolled out a list of 43 potential target countries. But it is more expansive than the 2017 ban. It affects 19 countries instead of 8, and combined with the administration's barrage of attacks on international students over the past 3 months, could be even more damaging to international enrollment. And what happens if you come from a country that doesn't have these restrictions, and then you're in the US, and you've started school, and then Trump decides, okay, I'm going to ban your country. You can go back to your country, but you can't come back here. So you're not going to be finishing school here. The full ban applies to Afghanistan, Chad, Congo, Eritrea, Equatorial Guinea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Myanmar, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen, largely Middle Eastern countries and African countries with substantial Muslim populations. Trump also restricted visas from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. The travel ban doesn't immediately affect students currently in the U.S. or who have been already approved for visas. But with many admitted international students still languishing in a visa process that the State Department halted 2 weeks ago, it will likely prevent thousands of students from attending in the fall and upend institutions' projected enrollments. This would mean if all things stay the same, if you already had a student visa, they may let you continue on that student visa, especially if you don't make any trouble, even if you're from a country that winds up getting restricted. The countries on the list send a relatively small number of students to U.S. colleges. Of the affected countries, Iran has by far the most students studying in the U.S. It's the 15th most common origin country for international students, with 12,400 studying at American colleges and universities as of the fall of 2024, according to the Institute for International Education. Still, the order is likely to compound the uncertainty and fear that has grown among international student populations, leading to signs of a large decline in student visa applications. Glass's research, along with more recent research reports, shows a double-digit decline in student visas from March 2024 to this March alone. The latest moves from the Trump administration could double that, he said. Quote, the COVID pandemic was a disruption of 15%, he said. This looks like it could be more significant than COVID if the pause is extended and the uncertainty continues. Guaranteed, the uncertainty is going to continue. Trump wants less international students. He wants American students going to American universities. Some international students are okay. 5%, maybe 10%. I don't think he wants more than at most 10%. Harvard has 27%. Columbia has over 50%. It's enough already. In Trump's proclamation announcing the travel ban, Trump wrote that the targeted countries had deficient vetting and screening processes for visa applicants or had taken advantage of the United States in their exploitation of our visa system and their historic failure to accept back their removable nationals. And that issue is about people overstaying student visas. If you get a student visa and you overstay that visa and you're from a country that doesn't really cooperate well with accepting you back, after you get caught, the Trump administration is preventing you from getting a new visa in the first place, which does have an overall sense of reasonableness to it. Sarah Spritzer, Vice President and Chief of Staff for Government Relations at the American Council on Education, said the rationale outlined in the travel ban that students pose a unique national security threat and have been overstaying their visas doesn't align with reality. Quote, if this is for national security concerns, our students are some of the most vetted visas out there, she said. And I don't know if our students actually overstay their visas that often. Well, I mean, if she doesn't know, then maybe she shouldn't comment on it. I'm not saying that I know what the percentages are. I'm just saying it does sound like a pretty reasonable rationale. Fanta Aw, the president of NAFSA, an association of international educators, echoed Spritzer and said that international students are already among the most tracked individuals entering the United States. So we're not as bad as other people that might be illegal aliens. Why are you giving us a hassle? Somehow that's not the standard, though, that the government is going for. They're going for we want to know that you're going to be like a legitimate person coming in, that you're going to stay a healthy and legitimate person. You're not going to be lying about why you came here, because sometimes people will say things on their visa and then act very differently when they come into the country. That really is the standard. It's not the standard of how much worse are you or better are you than the other people that are problems. This isn't like grading on a curve. Quote, actions such as halting student visa issuance and implementing nationality-based travel bans do not enhance national security, she wrote in an email. Even though she already admits she really doesn't know the information about national security, but she's just kind of saying that. But she went on to say, quote, instead, they weaken it, undermining our economy, diminishing our global competitiveness, and eroding our country's ability to effectively engage with the global population. Yeah, visa is not citizenship. So if you're going to come on a visa and you're coming for that purpose and then you stay beyond that purpose, that is a problem. The 2017 travel ban was amended twice after being challenged in the courts and eventually exempted non-immigrant visas, including student and exchange visas. Spritzer said the administration's outsized focus on student visa holders over the last few months makes that outcome less likely, but only time and the courts will tell. It only causes more havoc for Harvard. The travel ban came on the heels of another White House proclamation Wednesday night, this one banning foreign students and scholars from attending Harvard. Trump restricted visa applicants from entering the country, quote, solely or principally to participate in a course of study at Harvard University or in an exchange visitor program hosted by Harvard, claiming that allowing foreign students on campus would be detrimental to the interests of the United States because, in my judgment, that being Trump, Harvard's conduct has rendered it an unsuitable destination for foreign students and researchers. A Harvard spokesperson wrote that the proclamation is another illegal retaliatory step taken by the administration in violation of Harvard's First Amendment rights, and that the university will continue to protect its international students. Harvard's excuse for not cooperating with the Department of Homeland Security is that somehow it's a violation of their First Amendment rights to limit, restrict, or even ask any specific questions about what's going on with the international visas and the international students that they brought onto their campus in our country, affecting other students of ours, that there is no national security interest, no legitimate one, that would not violate their First Amendment right to bring in essentially whoever they want and allow them to do whatever they want on Harvard's campus. The problem is the federal government does have to continue to accept the status of those visas, and that is not something that Harvard has a unilateral right for, even if they make up the phony claim that somehow it violates their free speech. It's not free speech. They do still have some smart people at these universities, and they know their First Amendment argument ultimately, long-term, is not going to work. And that's why they're in a panic.